From the nation's capital, this is the Fly Fishing Consultant Podcast with your host, Rob Snowhite.
Thank you for downloading the Fly Fishing Consultant Podcast. My name is Rob Snowhite. This is Series 1, Episode 104. This is the second annual Tidal Potomac Fly Rodders Bluegill Tournament. You're going to hear my thoughts on how to fish a bluegill tournament, the flies and techniques I used, some on-stream interviews, and then some interviews at the meetup. And before we get started on the podcast, I want to do a little bit of shop talk here. So let me go over what's been happening in the last 8 months. My steelhead jacket, is what I've always referred to it as, broke again in the same spot. Drawstring on the hood broke back in February. I sent it back to them asking for the jacket to be repaired. I had a steelhead trip in March. We know about that. That's been on a podcast. I didn't have the jacket to wear. Gave them another month, emailed, called, got nowhere with the email, was told they'd return my call. This went on, about every 3 to 4 weeks I would call and send an email. The calls got me nowhere other than the jacket was there, somebody would call me back. I was even told I would be called back that day on one phone call. No one ever contacted me back, yet this company was posting all of their social media fishing trip pictures on Instagram. I'm a little frustrated. So by July, I know that this time of year, it's October now, bad weather's coming, I need my outer layer. And on July 10th, I sent an email. I called that day and was told send an email to the president and to customer service. And the email stated, I sent my jacket back in February. It's going to be fall soon. I need a jacket, whether it's broken or not. Please just send it back as is if you can't repair it. And I sent that in, and I followed up on Twitter that I sent the email. No response after 1 week, 2 week, a month. No one responded. So about 2 months into it, somebody finally said on Twitter, after me documenting this, call them out. And I did. I named the company on Twitter, and that was what got their attention. It wasn't calling the president and employees. It wasn't emailing the president and employees and customer service. It was naming them as having bad customer service on Twitter that caused them to contact me via Twitter and email stating my jacket would be sent back to me, and the fact that I'm a guide and I got the jacket at a discount price makes me not eligible for the same level of customer service as other customers. Now, my job as the fly fishing consultant is to try out products, brands, and recommend those for my clients and for the listeners and for readers. I do the hard work and I make the decisions, and through all of my years working in the outdoor industry and being a fly fishing guide, I'm telling you what you should and shouldn't buy. And I have a new outdoor jacket. It's phenomenal and I can't wait to wear it. But I just want to let you know that I was very upset and that there are companies out there that I don't want my listeners to do business with. And I'll leave it with that. I'm not going to name names on here, but I will be sharing who I think you should be doing business with on several other more podcasts to come. So that's my rant. Sorry it took so long. It is October 4th. I was asked for my address on August 25th via one of the customers on Facebook. Never received my jacket, and today I sent my last email. As of now, I'm writing it off as a loss. I'm happy with my new jacket. That's all I can say. And the company that sells it answered every email, online submission, and instant messenger chat on their website. So that's the company I want you to do business with. Let's end the negativity and let's go have some fun catching bluegill. Good afternoon. Today is September 8th. It's Friday afternoon. The temperature's in the mid to upper 70s, and I am leaving Rutherford, Fairfax now to go fishing. Fishing for the first time really since July 5th or 6th. And that's the last time I really set out to go fishing by myself. 45 minutes ago, the 2017 Tidal Potomac Fly Rodders fishing event started. This is the second annual TPFR Bluegill tournament. The winners will be the ones that have the largest fish, the smallest fish, the prettiest fish, and the most fish. I am going for the largest and the prettiest. I'm taking out the boat. The stealth craft is in tow. I've got the battery all charged up in case I get out there a little later due to traffic. And I want to fish the lake. Well, I don't want to. I'm going to fish the lake where I grew up because I know that better than any other water. And we've caught bluegill in there up to 1.25 pounds back when I had a digital scale. In the stealth craft boat, I have a 5-weight, a 6-weight, and an 8-weight. These are big bluegill, and I want to be catching more fish, so I want to spend more time catching, less time fighting fish. And I'm going to be making a lot of casts. A lot of casts tonight. The flies I've chosen are pretty basic. I've broken out the Mr. Bob's Lucky Day poppers from the 90s. I have not fished these flies in probably 15 years. They've been like that previous episode of my office. They've been in plastic box in the closet for a long time. And then a dropper fly, I'm going with the HNIC. Pretty basic setup. The poppers have a small head, so bluegill can eat them because bluegill have small mouths. And the HNIC is just a great overall fishy looking nymph. Unfortunately, it's probably going to catch more bass than bluegill, which is one of those weird things, being that it's a beadhead flashback soft hackle nymph. I've got a chartreuse Mr. Bob popper and a black Mr. Bob's popper, and then a couple of sliders in black. And those are all rigged up, ready to go. It's like 8 to 10 foot tippet and then 8-pound dropper line. You never know what's out there. And the reason I'm choosing these flies is they work. That's pretty much it. Tried and true patterns. And some of my questions and concerns about this tournament are, if it's a bluegill tournament, specifically that only means a bluegill can be counted. It doesn't mean green sunfish. Doesn't mean crappie. It doesn't mean red breast sunfish. It doesn't mean pumpkin seed. It doesn't mean largemouth bass. They're all in the same family, Centrarchidae, but they have different genus and a different species to them. And if I'm running the weigh-in tomorrow, I will not count anybody's fish. I'm going to keep track of all the fish I catch, whether they're bluegill or not. If they are allowing other species, then I've got my books covered. I have the TPFR printout tape measurer. It's a foot long, so I brought an extra tape measurer just in case I catch a whopper. That is inside one of those plastic sleeves you would keep magazines or documents in that you want to protect in a binder. And I also have a notepad with a little pen from TD Bank. TD Bank sometimes has free pens, so you just want to, grab a bunch when you can. Keep the house stocked. In order to get the prettiest fish, one thing you got to do is photograph that fish as soon as it comes out of the water. In my experience, bluegills, especially the males, will lose their color very, very fast when taken out of the water. The oranges turn to browns, the blues turn to grayish colors, and the yellows just fade away. And that's about all I got for now. I'm going to the lake to put in by myself, have a nice quiet evening. My daughter is at a young ladies dinner play date up the street. The wife is going to go work out and have a schwitz at the gym, and I made Provençal mustard chicken in the crock pot last night, and I've got some mashed potatoes with heavy cream and butter, and we'll put some chives on those tonight for a nice dinner while the kid is still away at her evening. Tomorrow, I cannot take the boat out to the same location. There's going to be a triathlon there this weekend, and people will be practicing. So I'm going to go to a different lake nearby and just fish from shore. Maybe I'll get a burrito from Chipotle and just hang out and nosh on that all day and just do some urban fishing. I haven't talked to many other people about where they're going. I know Stankus and Thomas are headed to Occoquan Reservoir, at least is their plan. Told Scott that a huge muskie was pulled out of there the other day. Now he's upset because he wants to take his 12 weight. If I was going for specifically just numbers, I would find a small little pond, or I would go to the tidal basin and focus under the cherry trees in the shade. But the parking there, you got to pay now, and where I'm going tomorrow, you don't have to pay. And it's next to restaurants and bars and convenience stores, so I have everything I need right there. So I'll check in with you from the boat. It's partly cloudy. The sun's probably going to set in about 3 hours, so I've got plenty of time, assuming I don't get stuck in this rush hour traffic too bad. 30, let me get you caught up where we are now. We're at the end of the lake, and I have caught a total of, let me check my tally sheet here, 13 bluegill, 4 bass, and I've lost 5 bluegill. One of those bluegill jumped up when I set the hook into a willow tree, and I got all tangled up, and the tip top of my 5-weight popped off. So I'm switching rods right now as I speak. I have been fishing the littoral zone, and you know that from all the other podcasts, meaning the shoreline. I've been fishing along the shoreline this whole time. Most of the fish are in about 2 to 3 feet of water, and it's pretty hard to see right now. The sun is below the horizon, and it's going down fast. It's getting cold out here. Been fueling up with salty Jumbo David ranch seeds. It's a little hard to fish and steer the boat at the same time. I am in the back of the boat, which is either the bow or the stern, depending on how you look at it as a stealth craft. Get away from me, mosquito. It's the first mosquito I've seen out here. There are midges. There are a lot of midges. There's a lot of very big midges out here. Not the Pat Dorsey kind. I'm talking 3/4 of an inch long. These are big midges coming off. Hopefully the bluegill let us think that my HNIC is a emerging nymph. I'm going to go to my old 5-weight now, as opposed to anything else. So my 5-weights are all fairly old. And I've got the lake to myself. You can hear some birds out, some fish popping. The water's glassy. The only sound really is the noise from Dulles Airport. I've just finished up one shoreline, so I'm going to start doing the others side. And I should make it back to the ramp by 8. I'm going to turn on the boat lights in a bit. Maybe that'll attract some fish. Maybe I should just sit still and fish. I'm looking forward to tomorrow when I don't have to deal with all this stuff. The stuff in the boat, having to stop the outboard. Just a lot of things going on in this tournament in my boat. I wish I had someone to row me, which would be much easier. They could stop, they could turn, go exactly where I want. And now that I'm not fishing and my glasses are off, I can see that there's a lot of itty-bitty little midges out here too. I saw a cardinal destroy a cicada. Never seen that before. And I've spooked a couple of carp. I don't know if they're grassies or common. You don't really get to see them until you flush them and they kick up the muddy bottom. A couple of turtles hanging out. People are setting up their grills on the houses lining the lake. It's about as awesome as you can get out here for a quiet night of just fishing by yourself. Cigar would have been nice. I'm going to turn this off and get back to the trolling motor. I'm going to go work the western shoreline, go hit the docks, the pontoon boats, any other structure that might be in the water. see how the fishing turns on, hopefully, as dusk arrives. All right, let's get you caught up. It's 7:23. Now, when I said the sun went below the horizon, I meant it went below the trees earlier. And I'm going to talk to you while I am undoing a massive knot. I'm up to 16 landed bluegill, 9 largemouth, and 7 lost bluegill. It's getting chilly out. There's fog coming down the creek that feeds this lake. It's a man-made lake. It's a little creek that is fed either by runoff or by springs. It hasn't rained in 3 days, so it's spring water, so it's colder, and there's fog coming down. I was going to pause now and go get my hoodie, except it's been on the floor of the boat, and it rained the other day, so it's soaked up all the water. So I'm going to sit out here and shiver. I'm sure it's only like 70. It's probably only 70-something degrees, but I'm a little chilly out here. Again, the only sound is some airplanes and birds. A couple people grilling. There's a dude fishing a cove that I wanted to hit up. It's one of my favorite spots on this lake. I'm going to cut this now because the tangle's so bad. I've been fishing a non-slip mono loop on the popping bug, which is just giving a little bit more wobbly walk the dog action. I was on the phone with Holt when I hooked something huge on the popper and it went down, and I lost it because I was distracted on the phone, but that's what happens. The big ones always get lost. I'm looking forward to a burrito tomorrow, and more just chilling and standing in one spot and letting the fish come to me. I probably will sleep well tonight. I've been casting for a couple hours straight now. I thought about using the 6-weight, and I had for a moment, but it was a bit heavy. After throwing a 5-weight, my 6-weights are overlined with 8-weight line. And that was just a bit much for out here. The eyes have been ripped off of the popping bug. The legs are still there. It's still floating quite nicely. These are, the way I was told was they're dye-injected rubber bodies. And then rubber legs pulled through, some crystal flash, and some saddle hackle wrapped around the tail. That's about it. I guess now you could compare it to the new double barrel poppers, the small ones from Flymen. These things were ahead of their time. I really wish the dude had continued to make them because I'm enamored with this little fly. All right, I'm all rigged up again. I'm fishing a 2001 5-weight. It's heavy, but it's soft. It's got a gentle cast, a nice soft presentation. I'm seeing a different crowd out here at night than I would if I was out during the day. It's nice to meet some other fishy folk along the lake. It's getting cold, so I'm going to start casting again. And someone's going to have to clean all these sunflower seeds out of my boat. The neighbor kids want hours for volunteering. I told them they could help me with the boat, just some of the stuff with my small business. So tomorrow, I'm going to get the neighbor kids over. They'll clean it out. Well, that was a fun evening. It's 8:09. I'm out of the water, headed home. I started fishing about 15 or 20 minutes ago when I just couldn't see anything. It's getting darker and darker earlier out here. I caught one big one, not as big as I was expecting. Oh, you don't walk across the road with a black dog at night without reflectors. Almost hit some people. And I'm going 25 miles an hour. Jeez. All right, so this one was pretty darn big. I was expecting bigger. And then another huge bluegill actually swallowed the popper. So I had to do a little ad hoc, manipulation of my